Good morning, everyone. Good morning, students. Well, we have started the topic of male reproductive world, male reproductive structures of a flower. In that, so far we have discussed about structure of stamen, also discussed about the detailed structure, internal structure of anther, the microsporangia, the four-layer walled around it, and the sporogenous tissue, the diploid sporogenous tissue. That much we have covered. Of this sporogenous tissue, the diploid cells of this sporogenous tissue, they will undergo meiosis. They will undergo meiosis process, and they will form a cluster of four microspores, which is called as microspore tetrad. That is termed as microspore tetrad. Let's say that this is the cell of sporogenous tissue. It undergoes meiosis and it produces tetrad, the microspore tetrad, cluster of four microspores, haploid microspores. You know the rule, a diploid cell when undergoes meiosis, it produces four cluster of these four is called as microspore tetrad. Each cell in a sporogenous tissue is capable of formation of such tetrad. You can imagine all cells are diploid in the sporogenous tissue. All cells are similar. That makes it a homogeneous tissue. Just a minute, my voice is lagging. That's a complaint. Let me make sure it doesn't happen. Is my voice lagging now? Let me revise what I said. Our topic is microsporogenesis. As the anther develops, the cells of this sporogenous tissue, the diploid cells of this sporogenous tissue, they go for meiosis and they form cluster of four microspores. These clusters are called microspore tetrad. All cells of the sporogenous tissue, if you remember, they are homogeneous. So all cells of sporogenous tissue are capable of undergoing meiosis and formation of microspore tetrad. All cells of sporogenous tissue are capable of formation of microspore tetrad in this manner. So you can see that each cell of sporogenous tissue each one is a pollen, or each one is a pollen mother cell, or you may call it as the microspore mother cell. All cells are potential pollen, or you may call it as the microspore mother cells, as far as sporogenous tissue is concerned, because each one is capable of giving rise to microspore tetrad. So they all are considered to be microspore mother cells. This process of formation of microspore tetrad through meiosis of microspore mother cell, you may call it as the pollen mother cell, meaning shall remain same. This process of formation of microspores, four microspores, from the meiosis of pollen mother cell, it is called as microsporogenesis. The process is identified as microsporogenesis. Formation of microspores through meiosis of microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell, you may call it as a PMC. This is the process which is called as microsporogenesis. See, when microspores are formed, they are in a form of a cluster, though they are four distinct haploid cells, but they still will remain covered in a common wall made up of a material named as callose, secreted by the tapetum cells. The callose, it envelops this cluster of microspore tetrad. So they still remain together in a one group that is called as microspore tetrad. As the anther undergoes maturity, as the time passes, anther becomes more and more mature, dehydration takes place. Dehydration is gradual removal of water, drying up condition. So on one hand, structures get matured, dehydration takes place. That time, certain enzymes are liberated from tapetum, which will dissolve this callus. Enzyme is callase. So due to the action of callase enzyme, the callose is removed, and these four microspores are separated from each other. These four are known as pollen grains. These four separated microspores, each one being haploid, they are called as pollen grains. In a last lecture, I was talking about whether pollen is haploid or a diploid. When you say pollen mother cell, it is diploid. But when you say pollen grain, then it is which one? Haploid. So पोलन का कौन सा स्टेज आप मेंशन कर रहे हो उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा whether it is haploid or a diploid. So when you say pollen mother cell, then you have to consider it to be diploid. When you say it is pollen grain, you have to consider it as the haploid. Coming back to our point, as the anther undergoes maturity and dehydration, the microspores get dissociated from each other and they are separated as haploid pollen grains. Inside the anther, inside each microsporangium, thousands of such pollen grains are seen. They are present over there. Inside each microsporangium, several thousands of these pollen grains are formed. And when this anther will dehisce, rupture, these pollen grains will be liberated out. They will be released out. On dehiscence of these anther, the pollens get liberated from this position. So that is the microsporogenesis act. Have you understood? Let us go through it. In a form of question answer, we shall revise this. Before I start asking, if you have any doubt, any question, you can ask. You can ask your questions, you can clarify your doubts and queries. Oh, you have no question. Fine. Somebody wrote the question. Kya tha? Callus is secreted by the tapetum. Coming to this point, microsporogenesis, very important process, microsporogenesis. Which is the site where this will occur? Inside the microsporangium. When will this process occur? As the anther develops, the cells of the sporogenous tissue, I'm talking about these cells, the sporogenous tissue cells, the diploid cells, they undergo meiosis to form cluster of 4 microspores, haploid microspores. These clusters are identified as microspore tetrads. Each cell of this sporogenous tissue, the diploid cell, it is capable of undergoing meiosis to form the microspore tetrads. Each one is a potent microspore mother cell, or you may call it as the pollen mother cell. It is through the meiosis, these pollen mother cell, through meiosis, it forms pollen tetrad or microspore tetrad. This process is identified as microsporogenesis. After this formation of microspore tetrad, where 4 haploid microspores remain covered by the callus, which is secreted by the tapetum, these anther undergoes maturity. When it undergoes maturity and also experiences dehydration, at some stage, the cluster of pollen tetrad, if you see, or microspore tetrad, its 4 microspores, the haploid 4 microspores get dissociated, get separated from each other. At that stage, you call them as pollen grains. This is the time when the anther is ready to undergo dehiscence and now ready to liberate the pollen grains to outside. That is about the microsporogenesis. Question number 1. Which cells undergo meiosis to form the pollen tetrad or microspore tetrad? Pollen mother cells. Another name for them is what? Another name for pollen, yes, Swati, microspore mother cells. They belong to which tissue? These cells belong to which tissue in the anther? Sporogenous tissue, Swati and Devanshi, correct. Are they triploid, diploid, or haploid? Yes, so the diploid they are diploid cells. The process in which these diploid pollen mother cells undergo meiosis and form microspore tetrad, what you call this process as? It has been identified as which one? Yes, Nandini and Darth and all. Microsporogenesis. The cluster of microspore tetrad remains covered with which material? A wall made up of which material around it? Krisha, correct. Callose. Now, once tetrads are formed, the further maturity and dehydration of these leads to separation of which structures? Pollen grains. Are they haploid or diploid? Haploid. By the way, the spelling of callose is this. Somebody wrote C-A-L-O-U-S-E. That is not a correct one. It should be C-A-L-L-O-S-E. And that stage, the pollen grains are ready to be liberated when anther is ready to dehyse over there. Structure of pollen grain. That's our next topic. Now we shall go in details of the structure of pollen grain. See, the pollen grains represent male gametophyte. Pollen grain represent the male gametophyte in angiosperms. Male gametophyte is nothing but the pollen, not the pollen mother cell. हाँ, pollen grain. Pollen एक word है common जो दो stages को represent करता है. Mother cell as well as grain. Pollen mother cell being diploid, pollen grain being haploid. तो दोनों के लिए word तो pollen use हो सकता है. Generally we use the word pollen for the pollen grain, the haploid structure, which will be liberated from the anther. So वो clarity आपके mind में होनी चाहिए कि वो haploid stage का जो pollen है, for that the word used is male gametophyte. Normally the pollen grain features, if you see, first of all, pollen grain is haploid, unicellular structure, uninucleate structure, and it is spherical in shape. The cells are spherical shaped cells normally. Obviously, there can be different shapes of it. In the beginning, one picture which was kept, that pic showed the pollen grains can have different possible shapes. Normally, unicellular, uninucleate structure to begin with, haploid structure, with the diameter of 25 micrometer to as much as 50 micrometers. You see the cell, it's a nucleus of the pollen grain. Then this is the cytoplasm of the pollen grain. Then comes pollen grain plasma membrane, and then comes wall of the pollen grain. As you can make out that there is a two-layered wall around the pollen grain. Are you all able to make it out? Can you see the outer wall termed as exine, the green inner wall termed as intine, and then inner to it is a plasma membrane. And obviously this is the cytoplasm and this is the nucleus. First of all, we shall discuss about the two-layered wall around the pollen, made up of outer layer known as exine and inner layer known as intine. The outer wall of the pollen grain is exine. The inner wall is known as intine. Let me mention the features of each one, starting with the first, exine. See, exine is made up of sporopollenin, a unique material. In the living world, a unique material named as sporopollenin. Most resistant organic material so far known in the living world. There are different materials available in the living world. I am not talking about non-living world. Metals can be harder than this, but they are part of non-living world. I am talking about something which is created, prepared by the living world. जैसे shells होती है molluscans की, very hard structure. जैसे chitin होता है exoskeleton, very hard structure. So in the series of such hard structures prepared by the living world, one material named as sporopollenin, which frames up the exine wall of the pollen grain, the most resistant organic material known so far. इससे ज्यादा resistant कोई organic material अब तक prepared नहीं हुआ है living world में. It can resist against high temperature, virtually no impact of high temperature, almost even up to 70-80 degrees Celsius, 80 degrees Celsius, no effect of that temperature on the sporopollenin. It can resist high pressure. It has no effect of strong acids and strong alkali. Strong and acids and alkalis can damage the living tissues, but this one has no impact of that. Most crucial point is that there is no enzyme found so far which can digest this sporopollenin. Means all things can undergo degradation. Even chitin, very hard material, can undergo degradation. Chitin is an organic material, so it can also undergo degradation. But the point is, there is a chitinase enzyme available in the living world which can do so. As far as sporopollenin is concerned, so far no enzyme is found that can carry out its degradation, its digestion. So non-decomposable material. The sporopollenin is non-decomposable material, non-degradable material. Damage भी नहीं होता है उसको. Actually, these features are responsible, for preservation of pollen as a fossil for a long time. We are getting the fossilized pollen preserved as it is for millions of years. What is the reason that all parts of the plant body get decomposed? Even a wood, it can be decomposed, but what will be left behind is pollen grain, exines will be left behind. The outer walls will be left behind. Why so? Because this exine is made up of sporopollenin. Well, any question at this point? It seems you have nothing to ask. Now, if you see carefully, there are apertures in the exine like this. These apertures in the exine are the sites where sporopollenin deposition is not taken place. When sporopollenin is deposited around the pollen grain as an outer wall, at some sites, this deposition doesn't occur. These small areas on the surface of the outer wall are known as germ pores. These are to be identified as which one? Germ pores. So what is a germ pore? The apertures on the surface of exine where sporopollenin deposition did not occur on it. These apertures are called as germ pores. When you talk about the inner layer, that is the intine. Intine is made up of two materials, cellulose and pectin. Pectocellulose, that's the term they use, pectin plus cellulose. These two materials make up the inner wall that is called as intine. When pollen grain develops, let's assume this is the pollen grain sitting on the stigma, and this is the style. This is the stigma where it has been deposited. And let's say that this is the intine, and here are those pores, the germ pores. See, when pollen tube will be formed, it will be formed by the intine through these germ pores. It will emerge out. So it's gonna be the intine which will, now if I give the blue color to this intine, it can make you understand that फिर अंदर ये plasma membrane and cytoplasm and nucleus. So this is the intine layer. This is the exine layer. So when the pollen grain drops on the stigma and starts its germination, it is the intine layer which will extend further, passing through the germ pore and penetrating into the stigma and style and further going deep down as what you call pollen tube. So the function of intine layer is to form the pollen tube that will convey this nucleus forward, and the cells which are formed by this cell inside it, they will be heading into this pollen tube. So intine, the inner layer in the wall of pollen grain, made up of cellulose and pectin, it will develop pollen tube at the time of germination of pollen grain. And pollen tube will come out from the pollen through germ pore. If you recall, I asked you to, get some information on Ubish bodies or Ubish orbicals. Did you gather that information? So does it match with this one? Small lipid bodies which are deposited by the tapetum cells. They form this sporopollenin material around each developing pollen grain, isn't it? When callose is removed and pollen grains separate, when callose is removed and pollen grain get separated, immediately the tapetum cells secrete this lipid bodies, the Ubish bodies around each pollen grain, and that's how the exine layer is formed around each one of them. Shiv, ask your question.
Yes, sir. So can you show me the diagram, please? So, sir, as the plasma membrane, as sir, गुजराती में बोलो जल्द से.
क्या?
गुजराती में कहूँ चलेगा?
हाँ बोलो.
सर आप प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन નું જે લેયર છે અગર એ બ્રેક થશે તો જ સર જે બધા અંદરના સાઇટોપ્લાઝમ છે સર એ જશે ટ્રાન્સફર થશે ઇન્ટાઇન લેયર પર.
Now, I could not understand what you are asking, but what you are mentioning is something related with the pollen tube formation and subsequently what happens to the pollen.
Yes,
That
yes,
will be
yes.
our next topic. That will be our next topic.
Oh.
Now, this one is completed. Now, if you have any doubt, any question, you ask, all of you. It seems to have no question. Let me ask and revise this content. So let's start our discussion on pollen grain structure. Point number 1. In angiosperms, what is the status of pollen grain? In the sexual reproduction, it is also added. Yes, Devanshi, correct. It is called male gametophyte. A mature pollen grain is haploid or diploid? It's a haploid structure, correct. Normally, it can have a which shape apart from the other variable possible shapes? Spherical, Hali and Nandini, correct answer. Spherical shape is the prominently seen one. Obviously, there can be different other shape pollen grains. They may be like a rod or all different possible variations can be seen in that. What's the normal diameter of pollen grains? 25 to 50 micrometer, Krisha, correct. A typical pollen grain in its structure, if you see, has a haploid nucleus surrounded by cytoplasm, bounded by plasma membrane, then outer layer, two walled layer around it or two walled cell wall around it. Outermost is called as which one? Exine, Mauli, correct. And the one which is between exine and plasma membrane is which one? Etarth, correct. In time. Exine is made up of deposition of which material? Sporopollenin. Which structure and its cells secrete contents to form the sporopollenin around the pollen grain? This secretion comes from where? Hubish granules from tapetum. Nandini and Hussain both are correct. Tapetum secreting Hubish bodies which will be deposited as the sporopollenin. What's a unique and special feature of sporopollenin? Something that is unique to it? Yes, Krisha. Most resistant organic material. Because shells are very hard, but they are inorganic material. I am talking about organic material and that too prepared by living world. Amongst them, this is the most resistant. Which things cannot damage it? For example, yes, exactly, Krisha and Kashish and all. High pressure, high temperature, also other than that, which chemical effects? Acids and alkalis, strong acids and alkalis also have no impact on them. What about their biological degradation? Is it possible on their? No, actually, Kashish, correct. They cannot be digested because there are no enzymes. No microbes can secrete any enzyme that can digest this sporopollen. Actually, this hard resistant nature of this sporopollenin helps in which aspects for this pollen grain? In evolutionary aspects point of view, if you discuss. Exactly, Halley and others, correct. Preservation of pollen grains as the fossilized material in the soil. Because in the soil with a lot of pressure, they will remain unchanged. With no digestive enzymes and no biological degradation possible for them, they will remain intact. What you call those small apertures in the exines where sporopollenin deposition didn't occur, and yes, that's germ pore. Kushi was correct. Trustee, correct. How about the constituents of inner layer in the wall of pollen grain? Ali, correct. Cellulose and pectin. What's the significance of intine layer? What is the significance of intine layer? It's gonna give rise to Yes, pollen tube, Astha, correct. Before we go for the next, a break for 5 minutes. Madam, you can stop the recording. Stop the recording for a while. Give her last warning and then remove if she doesn't reply.
It's okay, Jiyashri.
Yes, what's the response? Haya Desai, if you are present, reply, either unmute or come to the screen or write down something in the chat box to confirm your presence. Is there any reply from her side, ma'am? Haya Desai?
No, no, sir.
You remove her then. Removed?
Yes, sir.
Fine, thank you. Let's start the next one. The male gametophyte development. You see, for maturity, the pollen grain has to go through mitosis. A pollen grain has to go through mitosis. Within itself, it will form two different cells. Vegetative cell, also known as tube cell, and then another one is a generative cell. If you see carefully, this large cell, the bigger one, with abundant of food reserve and having a large irregular nucleus, this one is identified as vegetative cell. The other one, that is a smaller one with a dense cytoplasm and nucleus, with a dense cytoplasm and nucleus, this one, that is called generative cell. Actually, it will be, sort of floating within the vegetative cell, as if within one cell there are two cells separated over there. So it is something which is floating in the cytoplasm of vegetative cell, this spindle shaped generative cell. I repeat, to attain maturity and to form the functional male gametophyte, the pollen grain undergoes mitosis. Imagine if a haploid cell undergoes mitosis. What will be the status of each cell? They will be also haploid. One of the haploid cell is called vegetative cell. It's the bigger one amongst the two. It is the one with a lot of reserve food in it, and it has a large irregular shaped nucleus. Another one, which is a spindle shaped small one, floating in the virtually in the cytoplasm of vegetative cell, and having a this generative cell, rather it is called as, and the one having dense cytoplasm and nucleus, this is what is called as generative cell. The matter doesn't end over here. Ultimately, it has to go through one more mitotic division and has to form two more cells. And these two more cells which it forms are known as male gametes. They are known as male gametes. They will be also haploid in nature. Got to imagine this way. The whole story goes like this. you had a diploid pollen mother cell. It gave rise to four haploid cells. Further, this is called as, if this was the PMC, this is called as pollen grain. If this was diploid, these are haploid. Further, what happens? This makes two cells, each one haploid. This is called as vegetative cell, and this one is called as generative cell. Further, what happens into it? This remains as a vegetative cell, and this becomes two male gametes. You can call it as a two-celled pollen, and this one is called as three-celled pollen. One is called as two-celled pollen, another one is called as three-celled pollen over there. Okay, the divisions, if I mention properly, here was meiosis. Here was first mitosis. And here is second mitosis. This is the final male gametophyte ready for the fertilization. Now, mind you, understand this fact that 60% of the angiospermic plants, when they release their pollen grains by rupturing the anther, by the dehiscence of their anther, 60% of the species under the angiospermic group, they release it as a two-celled pollen. They release it as a two-celled pollen. There are 40% varieties of angiospermic species which will release the pollen grain through the dehiscence of anther in a three-celled stage. Now, in 60% cases, this is something which will reach to the stigma after being pollinated. And 40% varieties are the ones in which this is something which is reaching to the stigma of the pollen grain. However, even if the 60% are transferring their pollen as a two-celled pollen, ultimately what will happen is even two-celled pollen has to turn into three-celled pollen after reaching at what? Stigma at the another flower or same flower, whichever one. It has to be transformed after the pollination again into the three-cell. How many of you could understand what I mentioned? If there are 60, I want 60 replies. It takes hardly 3 letters to type yes or 2 letters to type no. But it makes crystal clear to us whether we should revise it or not. We should make you one more time, understand this thing or not. Acha, those who have not understood should write down no now. Fine, nobody is writing no. That means all are clear with this stuff. Still, I would revise. What do you call this process as? The pollen mother cell undergoing meiosis finally produces 4 haploid pollen grains or microspores in a tetrad. This is called as which one? Incomplete answers you guys are giving. Exactly, Sakshi and Kia. Microsporogenesis. This is called as microsporogenesis. After this process, the pollen grains are forming the tetrad. The dehydration and maturity, they are releasing this pollen grains separate in a separate format. And then each pollen grain, mind you, this thing can happen with this one, this one, this one. We don't have a space to show it. Otherwise, this will also make a male gametophyte. This will also make a male gametophyte. This one will also make a male gametophyte. So each out of the 4, each haploid pollen grain or microspore will ideally undergo for the process of first mitosis and second mitosis to make the mature male gametophyte. As far as this journey is concerned, the gametophyte formation journey is concerned, from here to here. In this journey, if you understand one fact, just a minute, गड़बड़ हो गया. If you understand one fact that there are 2 back-to-back mitoses from haploid pollen grain, 2 haploid cells, 1 vegetative cell and 1 germ cell, generative cell, my mistake. And subsequently, the second mitosis where generative cell undergoing mitosis gives 2 more cells, haploid cells, which are called as male gametes. These are the 2 male gametes. Issue is that which form of male gametophyte is released, the pollen grain is released. So 60% varieties of angiosperm will release, dehyse their anther and release their pollen grain in a 2-cell stage. But 40% of them will release that pollen in a 3-cell stage. Even if those which are released as the 2-cell stage, after reaching to the stigma, even they have to turn into ultimately to what stage they have to turn into. Isn't it 3-cell stage? So that was about the male gametophyte development. I hope you have understood the entire journey of it. Madam, that I have given I have admitted Aya Desai. You ask her what is her issue, why she is not replying.
Okay. Haya Desai, switch on your video now. Haya, unmute yourself. Haya, what
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the reason? जब हमने पहले पूछा था आपने वीडियो ऑन नहीं किया. What is the
Ma'am,
reason?
ma'am, I couldn't hear your voice. मैं लीव हो जा रही थी मीटिंग से बार-बार.
नहीं, तब तक आप एंटर ही थे. हमने आप
अभी ऑन करो, चलो अभी ऑन करो.
ऑन है सर.
हाँ. Now, Haya, this is happening with you again and again. What is the reason?
Sir, this won't happen again.
It won't happen again because if it happens again, then you will be permanently removed from biology group.
Okay, sir, sorry.
When we ask you to confirm your presence, you all have to respond to it. It is compulsion on your part. You have to follow that, instruction. Go off the screen. So male gametophyte development. After being formed, the pollen grain to turn into a mature male gametophyte, it will undergo first which division? Mitosis or meiosis? After being formed, the pollen grain, further to mature into a male gametophyte, it will undergo which division? Mitosis or meiosis? Muhammad is correct and all others were wrong, those who wrote the answer. It's a first mitotic division in that. You all gave a wrong answer, others those who gave the answer at that time. And everybody is a copycat, that if a one person wrote meiosis, everybody else followed and had gone for that meiosis answer. Now, after the mitosis in the pollen grain, within the exine and intine, internally there will be two cells being formed. Which two cells will be formed inside that common exine intine wall? Vegetative cell, Ayushi is correct, vegetative cell and generative cell. Both are haploid. What are the features of size of the vegetative cell? Its food reserve and its nucleus. Yes, the cell is bigger in size, having abundant reserve food material in it, and with irregular shaped nucleus. Devanshi, correct. How about the features of other cell, the generative cell? Its size, its cytoplasm and other features. Small in size. Tanvi and Ruti and all correct. Prachi, correct. Dense cytoplasm and prominent nucleus. What's the shape of this cell? What about the shape of this cell? Spindle shaped one. Yes, and has been floating in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Further, in which cell out of these two, one more mitotic division is supposed to occur to make it a functional three-celled male gametophyte? It's a generative cell. Diksha, correct. Out of the two, vegetative and generative, it's the vegetative cell that is supposed to go for one more round of mitosis, that's called second mitosis, and gives rise to two male gametes, one vegetative cell and two male gametes. That's the three-celled pollen. How many percentage of the angiospermic species discharge it? Kashish, correct. Diksha, correct. 40% of them release it in this format. So what about the remaining percentage? In which cell stage they release their pollen grain? Ali and Ayushi, correct. 60%. And they release it in the form of two-celled stage of the pollen. Now some other interesting details regarding the pollen grain off the track. I mean, not much related with the reproduction aspects, but still related with the pollen grains. So let me start with the first in that sequence, what you call pollen allergy. Our topic is pollen allergy. In many individuals, pollen grains are responsible for asthma and bronchitis. What is asthma and bronchitis? What are these asthma and bronchitis? We have already learned in the 17th chapter in 11th standard related with respiratory diseases these are. It's already informed about it. One of the plant, particularly one variety called as carrot grass, called as scientific name is Parthenium. Species maybe something something is there. So Parthenium grass, or you may call it as a carrot grass, it's an alien species. Here is that plant. Alien species means a plant which is not a native plant of our country. It is normally not growing in our country. It used to be the one in some other countries. When we imported the wheat earlier, India, a few decades back, India was dependent upon other countries, particularly other Asian countries, to get the supply of wheat. So while we were procuring the wheat from some other countries, along with the wheat seeds of the other country, some Parthenium seeds also reached over here in India. And when some farmers started plantation of the wheat with the help of those, foreign wheat seeds, this carrot grass also came and started flourishing on our land. This kind of species is called as an alien species. This is the one which has been found to be causing lots of issues related with asthma and bronchitis. Many patients, many farmers in fields, many farm workers in fields, particularly wheat fields, they have been suffering from this allergy of pollen grains, mainly from Parthenium. So that was one point which one had to understand. The second relevant point is pollen products. Pollen grains have a very high economic importance. See, economically, they are highly important one, the pollen grains. They are sold in this format, branded by companies like Bee Pollen brand के format में sell भी होते हैं, particularly in foreign countries. Reason is pollens are rich in nutrients. Different edible products, if you compare amongst them, pollens are highly nutritious. They are rich in nutrients, lots of lipids and proteins in them, and various minerals in them. So what happens that the pollens are collected, their tablets are prepared. These pollen tablets and supplements, as well as some of them prepare the syrups. Some of them are making tablets of the pollen, and others are preparing syrups of the pollen. So pollen syrups are available, pollen tablets are available. These are used as the food supplements. Many times you take the various supplements, they can provide you extra energy and extra nutrients and extra minerals in your diet. So similarly, some people consume pollen syrups or some consume pollen tablets. These are rich in nutrients. They are used as a food supplement. Not only that, but they are even used to be given to horse races. Horses of various, I'm mistaken speaking, race horses. Those horses which are to be used in the race, they are given these pollen tablets and syrups to enhance their strength, to make them nutrient rich and enhance their strength. For a better performance of athletes also, even athletes use these pollen syrups and pollen tablets as the natural food supplements. So you can imagine how much rich they must be in the nutrients that the athletes and the horses for the race purpose, they are the ones who are given this kind of nutrients over there. That is about the importance of this pollens, economic importance of these pollens. Another aspect regarding them is about pollen viability. Pollen viability is another issue related with the pollen grain. See, after the discharge from the anther digestion and release from the anther, they should reach to the pollen grain. That process is a pollination. But every time it may not be an instantaneous one. That, for example, if a pollen is released from the, let's say, anther, from that the pollen is released. Instantly, it may not reach to your stigma. It might be dropped somewhere, it will remain there, and maybe later on it may be transferred over here. Ultimately, it has to reach to the stigma. That is necessary. Otherwise, the pollen tube formation will not take place. By the time it reaches, if it retains its capacity to germinate in the pollen tube, we say it has remained viable. And if there is a delay in reaching up to this point, by the time it reaches there, no longer it retains the power of germination. So we say it has remained non-viable now. It is not viable anymore now. It's almost, you can consider it to be a dead cell, not capable of further germination. So this aspect, the duration of, for certain period of time, it remains alive and capable of inducing the germination. This is called as pollen viability. This is termed as pollen viability. This period of pollen viability, it varies from species to species. In different species, this is different period. So pollen must reach to the stigma before it loses its viability. Now this period is of 30 minutes in case of rice and wheat, which means, what is the meaning of this thing that in a rice and wheat, pollen viability is for 30 minutes of their release? इसका मीनिंग क्या होगा? आप में से कोई अनम्यूट करके बोलेगा, एक्सप्लेन करेगा? I'm asking to you guys, you should try and reply, whatever way you can reply. It means that is what is written. It means that after being released in rice and wheat, after being released from the anther, these pollen grains must reach to the stigma before 30 minutes in order to remain viable, in order to remain capable of developing the pollen tube. If the 30 minutes time period is crossed and then they reach to the stigma, they will not be able to germinate over there. So germination must be done within the 30 minutes. Otherwise, it will fail over there. That's what they are trying to explain. But the same viability, if you consider in case of plants under the family such as Rosaceae, Leguminosae, and Solanaceae, just a pea plant and others. There, this period is lasting for few months. Means in these plants, a pollen released, it will survive for few months, retaining the capacity to germinate. Even after a few months, if the pollen reaches to the stigma, it will still remain capable of developing the pollen tube. So we say its viability lasts for few months over there. That is about the pollen viability factor. And last aspect related to the pollen grains, and that is cryopreservation. I'm sure it's not a new term for you, the cryopreservation, isn't it? Already you may have studied in a 11th standard, one of the method of conservation, maybe in a first chapter or otherwise also. Have you studied about this one? Cryopreservation. What do you know about it? Anyone who knows about it? Unmute and speak. Who wants to speak about it? Would you like to talk about cryopreservation from your side? If you have studied about it? No one is ready. Yug, boliye.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, cryopreservation means the preservation of pollen grains in liquid nitrogen, and then it can be used later for pollen germination.
Correct. And what temperature they maintain?
Sir, I don't know exactly, but it's 190, minus 190, 190.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Minus 196 degree Celsius. That's the
Celsius.
temperature. You are absolutely right. Huh? Well done.
Thank
So
you, sir.
cryopreservation is a method of preservation of living materials at a very low temperature, freezing temperature. Liquid nitrogen is used for such preservation. And normally they maintain minus 196 degrees Celsius temperature to store these materials. Pollen grains are stored in the pollen bank by one of these, by this technique. This is one of the technique to store the pollen grains at the pollen bank. Yes. But this technique is also used for storage of sperms, that is a semen. So semen bank may be used hota hai cryopreservation. Also it is done in embryo storage and other living material to be stored over there. This technique is employed. So yes, we talked about cryopreservation, one of the technique of storage of living materials at a very low temperature as much as minus 196 degrees Celsius, done with the help of liquid nitrogen. Specifically in pollen bank, this is one of the technique to store even pollen grains. So I mentioned about various aspects of pollen grains other than their reproductive aspects. Number one in that, the pollen allergy. Which alien species is commonly causing pollen allergy in India? Which variety of, alien variety of plant? It's a Parthenium. What's the common name of that? Yes, Ruti, correct. Carrot grass. It came to India along with which variety of seeds imported from outside? Yes, Diksha, correct. Wheat. Imported wheat. Along with that, it came to India and has now flourished in India. Which are the common respiratory diseases caused by the pollen grains? when they are inhaled. Asthma is the one, Nidhi, correct. And bronchitis is the one, Tanvi Shah. Why pollen grains are economically very important? They are high nutritional value, isn't it? Rich in nutrients, yes. As a food supplements, they are given to whom to increase their performances? To the athletes, yes. Hussain, correct. Yes. Race horses are the ones. They are also given the pollen tablets and pollen syrups. Pollen viability. Its capacity for germination is to be retained as long as pollen is viable. This pollen viability period varies in different organisms, different plants particularly. In a rice and wheat, how much is the pollen viability period after the discharge? Yes, 30 minutes. Yeah, correct. Shruti, correct. And in which family plants this period extends for a few months even? Kashish, correct. Rosaceae, Muhammad Waris, correct. Solanaceae and Tanvi, correct. Leguminaceae, yes, legumes. As you know that cryopreservation is one of the method of preservation of living materials at a very low temperature. How much low it can go? Yes, Shruti, correct. Vandit, wrong. -196 degrees Celsius लिखना चाहिए आप लोगों को. That's the way to write it down. And with the help of what such a low temperature is achieved over there? Devanshi is the one, liquid nitrogen. So pollen banks use this technique of cryopreservation for storage of pollen at a low temperature, one of the technique for preservation of pollen grains. Now, last 2 to 3 extra points which are related with NEET exam preparation. The content you will not have in the textbook. So one of them, see, this content is related with the NEET exam preparation, nothing to do with the textbook and board exam and GUJCAT exam. Few terms you should know, and one of them is pollinium. See, in a Calotropis plant, all pollen grains of an anther, they remain united in a single sac. Anther के 2 lobes होते हैं. From each lobe of the anther, all the pollen grains are forming one sac-like structure. This sac-like structure is called as pollinium. So in a Calotropis, when pollination occurs, the insect is not taking away the separate pollens, it is taking away the entire bunch of pollen in the form of a sac known as pollinium. I'll show you the pic of pollinium. Look at this one. Pollinium in a Calotropis. This is pollinium, plural is pollinia. Basically, pollinium term is for the sac filled with pollen grain. Each anther will make its own sac rather than liberating them in a separate form. So when the insect will carry, it will carry the entire polinium, the pollinia of Calotropis. ये hang कर जाएगा insect के body के ऊपर और पूरा का पूरा ये pollinate हो जाएगा. So the term pollinium is employed for the sac filled with pollen grain. In the case of Calotropis antherlobe, that is the pollinium. Another term that you must know regarding the NEET exam, pollen kit. Yellowish color, viscous, sticky layer, mainly made up of lipids and carotenoids, pigments mainly. This remains around each pollen in many of the insect pollinated plants over there. In many plants, pollen grains are pollinated or transmitted to the stigma with the help of insects. These insect pollinated plants, they make their pollen surface sticky. So around their exine, they have additional sticky layer made up of lipids and carotenoids. So this yellowish color viscous sticky layer made up of lipids and carotenoids around the pollen, which will help the pollen to stick to the body of insect, that is termed as pollen kit. Is that clear? Pollen kit. Fine. Third one, polyspory. You see, in a normal circumstances, in your microspore tetrad, there are ideally 4 pollen grains. But imagine if you have a microspore tetrad in which there are more than 4 pollen grains, then what you call it as? At that time, the phenomenon is to be termed as polyspory. It is known as polyspory. Ideally, through meiosis, a pollen mother cell should have formed 4 pollen grains. Instead of that, unusual division, and there are more than 4 pollen grains in a tetrad, you call it as a polyspory. In Cyperus, if you remember the normal tradition, so that things will become easier, that you have in a normal circumstances, you have a pollen mother cell, which will form 4 pollen grains. And each of them will further give rise to a male gametophyte. Isn't it? That's a normal tradition. Now, in a Cyperus, what happens? Out of the 4 pollen grains formed in a tetrad, 3 of them shall be degenerated. Only one will go for formation of a male gametophyte. Only one will go for formation of a male gametophyte. So only one functional microspore survives and 3 other microspore of the tetrad degenerate. Unlike the typical other angiosperms, where out of the 4 microspores within the tetrad, each one is capable of developing into a male gametophyte. So each one is typically a functional microspore over there. None of them degenerates. Do you get the idea? What I mentioned? while you will be solving the MCQs from the different competitive exam books, particularly MTG, you will get the question asked based on the Cyperus unusual nature of its microsporogenesis, that its microsporogenesis ends up with making only one functional microspore, whereas other all will have a 4 functional megaspores formed at the end of microsporogenesis. This is not a big deal. It's about the shape of tetrad, that which way the 4 microspores are arranged in a tetrad. Iske upar point hai, otherwise not a big deal over there. Linear shape mein isobilateral and tetrahedral and decussate and other possible T-shaped arrangements of the pollen grain. ये कुछ microspores within the tetrad surrounded by the callus. So ये इतना बहुत important नहीं है. शायद एक जगह पे मैंने वर्ड देखा था इससे रिलेटेड, इसीलिए ये इंफॉर्मेशन दिया है. कहीं पे कोई MCQ में ये इंफॉर्मेशन थी. So that's why I have given this content. Otherwise, this is not much important. Tell me, have any doubts in the same? Well, with this, we conclude today's lecture. With this, we conclude our today's lecture. Next time when we meet, we discuss about female reproductive system in the angiospermic plants, female reproductive whorl, gynoecium, and its units to be studied in detail in the next lecture. Over for